Do we have free will? Can we make real choices? Or is the future predetermined and predestined? Which is it? John Wesley is perfectly clear on this point. He argues that God knows past, present, and future. But God experiences past, present, and future simultaneously, all at once. That's totally different from the human experience. Words such as foreknowledge and predestination don't make sense in God's experience of time. Wesley has a lot to say about this. You can find it in Sermon 58 on predestination. In fact, Wesley even has a sharp correction for biblical literalists. They won't like it. He says, translations of the Bible talk about God like this: foreknowing the things in heaven and on earth, and as predestining or foreordaining them. But he asks, quote, can we possibly imagine these expressions are to be taken literally, unquote. So in general terms, Wesley has established a clear position on predestination. Doesn't like it. Let's try to summarize Wesley's thought. It's simple enough, but we have to remember it's out of the 18th century. Wesley argues that the creation is in unbounded space and is also in unbounded time. Humanity has to be free to make choices in time and space. But when we talk about God in time and space, language reaches a limit. Literal terms can't and don't apply to God. Well, Mr. Wesley has put it nicely. It has a decidedly contemporary ring to it. But unfortunately, that's not enough. We need to use our own contemporary knowledge of time and space. We might come up with totally different conclusions and deeper insights than Wesley had. As Charles Wesley said in one of his hymns, we need to serve the present age. We need the concepts and language of today. So consider this: strange attractors. Strange attractors are part of today's scientific vocabulary. What are they? What do they do? The weather provides a classic example. The still air can be transformed quickly into strong winds. The random movement the atmospheric gases have takes on a pattern. The breeze builds to a strong wind. Then, unexpectedly, it turns into a destructive tornado. In the tornado, the air movement is no longer random in the way it was, anything but. Just as quickly, the tornado blows itself out. It dissipates. There are similar strange attractors elsewhere in nature. They have a habit of turning up randomness and chaos into complexity and evolving systems. Maybe by way of analogy, there are strange attractors embedded in what we call the future. Maybe these strange attractors pull or shape the present into patterns. This process might be described as emergence or becoming. The present is not absolutely determined or predestined. No, far from it. But maybe it is shaped. The future shapes the purpose of the present. The word theologians have for purpose in the universe is teleology. Now, scientists generally don't like the idea of purpose in the universe. Let's stick with this for a moment. We put this concept of purpose in a different way. Suppose the universe is actually without purpose. Suppose there's no point to it. Then, in that case, it would have to be truly incomprehensible. An incomprehensible universe flies in the face of what we are. The fact is obvious. We are an evolved species, Homo sapiens sapiens, the creature which knows that he knows. Our knowledge is obviously partial and limited, but we do comprehend a little of the incomprehensible universe if it's pointless. And maybe that is our purpose. Perhaps we have evolved in order to be this comprehending creature, the creature which comprehends the incomprehensible. There's a great phrase that comes from modern mathematics. It talks about the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. And that hints at a kind of comprehension embedded into the fabric of existence. Perhaps that's what the entheos, enthusiasm, really is. Let's look at this from another angle, an awkward angle as far as science is concerned. It's the concept of synchronicity. Carl Gustav Jung introduced this term in 1950 in his book on synchronicity. His experiments with the Chinese divination system I Ching had led him to the concept. In a nutshell, it's this. Events in the soul or the psyche may be connected, but without one causing the other. And that's quite counter to the usual Western way of scientific thought. Science usually sticks to a deterministic approach. One event causes another. We comprehend the meaning of the second event because the first caused it. But what if you had two events, Jung said, that were totally meaningful, intertwined as it were, and neither one caused the other? And Jung gave an example which is quite striking. He was treating a woman, a patient, who described a dream to him. She dreamed that she had been given a golden scarab. A scarab is a beetle. As she was describing the dream, Jung heard a tapping at the window. He saw a beetle trying to get in, so he opened the window and caught the beetle in his hand as it came in. It wasn't the golden scarab, but a close relative, a rose scarab beetle. Jung did not believe that this was a mere coincidence. To him, it was an example of synchronicity. Neither event was the cause of the other, but they were deeply intertwined. Jung believed that such meaningful coincidences occurred outside of our own consciousness, but they are manifested inside of us, in our psyche. Jung's study of the I Ching enabled him to consider the whole. The whole gives the meaning. This is in line with what we learned in the last video about Viktor Frankl's search for meaning through the external circumstances. I'd argue it also fits John Wesley's approach of pricking for a verse. The crucial concept is this: synchronicity and purpose are very useful ways of understanding how our lives get lived. Much better than asking about free will, predestination, God's will, etc. They explain more. And though, of course, they're not ultimate explanations, they just work better. And that brings us back to Wesley and enthusiasm. Remember, entheos is the God within. Synchronicity and purpose is a contemporary way of getting to the same thing. Enthusiasm is the key. Our God within is like the universe without, full of strange attractors. Synchronicity. Purpose. In sum, Wesley's sermon, The Nature of Enthusiasm, is marked by some errors and misunderstandings. It makes it all the finer theology. Its great insights transcend its limitations. Do have a look at the sixsenses.nz page on these videos about enthusiasm, and join me for the next videos in the Practical Theology channel. Thanks for watching.